Okay. Well,
I saw moving and.
Well, I was just saying good morning. We are now live on Facebook, and and I've started the recording, and we got about 1 minute before we go live on the radio. So just stand by, and we will begin shortly. All right, so I'm going to see if it will let me do this screen sharing now. Share content. I guess it wouldn't let me. So, all right, well, I just have to use the manual timer. All right, so let me flip over to the on air. We're inside of our legal ID, and we do news and weather, and we will be starting shortly.
Good morning, Kabila and John.
Good morning.
How are y'all today?
Pretty good, thank you.
It's Tuesday. Tuesday. Oh, goodness. I've been working on some things for my podcast, but then also getting ready for grad school to start again.
Oh, fun.
So this will be my last. Hoorah.
This is the final stretch, isn't it?
Yes.
That's exciting.
It is. It's definitely to be commended.
For sure. I considered it.
I have to get a real job. I need a real job.
You could always be a career student, you know, there are those.
I was one for a good minute. I stand by for a legal ID, and it's counted down from 30 seconds. KLK 102.5 FM. Good morning to you on your Tuesday. It's October 13th, 2020. This is our Arkansas House of Representatives District 58 debate. We are doing this entirely via Zoom today. Joining us on the call, we have Kabila Jones, host of Community Conversations, and we have our candidates, Sean Only, representing the Democratic Party, and John Milligan, representing the Republican Party. Of course, as always, KLK and the Voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, we do not endorse, support, or oppose any candidate for office. These interviews are provided for informational purposes only. But as always, we encourage each and every one of you to vote because it is important to let your voice be known. Election day is November 3rd. Early voting starts October 19th. You can still get your absentee ballot in if you want to vote that way, but do it as soon as possible, preferably dropping it off. And you may want to consider voting early, just kind of looking at social media, seeing some of the other states that have started early voting. Some people have waited up to 10, 12 hours to vote in line to vote. So just go ahead and just get it out the way. So with that being said, we're going to go over our format, just like our other debates. We are going to start off with a 2-minute opening statement from the candidates, and then we will go into round one. Round one will be questions that Kabila and myself will ask the candidates. And then round two is where you, the audience that is watching on our Facebook live feed, can ask questions of the candidates. And then for round three, the candidates will ask questions of each other. And of course, on each of these, the candidate will get 2 minutes to answer and then a 2-minute rebuttal. And then for the next to last segment, each candidate has to say something positive about his or her opponent. And for the final segment, it is a 2-minute closing statement. So we're going to now do the coin toss, and so we'll do ladies first. So Sean, you can choose heads or tails.
Heads.
All right, so let me see if I can hold this up to the phone here and flip it.
Yancy, we are District 53.
53, if I said that wrong, I apologize. So, all right, that's District 53, and it's heads. So, Sean, you will go first. You now have 2 minutes.
Okay, well, good morning. I am Sean Only, and I am married to my best friend, Ron, of 32 years this Friday. And I'm very excited about that. We have 3 brilliant daughters. Our youngest daughter is a junior in college studying psychology. Our middle daughter is a senior in college in a 5-year engineering program. And our oldest daughter is an educator who finished Harvard grad school last year. I earned my bachelor's degree from St. Edward's University in Austin, Texas, and I worked for over 20 years for the top private law firms in the country as a legal secretary and a legal assistant. I transitioned to work with my husband, who is a physician, and we own and I manage our private medical practice. I have been involved in politics for over 20 years, and I am running for state rep because we have too few laws that protect us as consumers, as homeowners, renters, and as taxpayers, and too many loopholes that do not protect us from legislators who created those loopholes for themselves and their cronies. So loopholes that do not protect law-abiding citizens. Moreover, we have an imbalance in representation. That's the biggest part. As it stands, the majority of representation is male and dominated by one party. And that domination and focus only on this Second Amendment and women's bodies does not put food on the table or help folks who are living from paycheck to paycheck. So I would like to bring some balance and focus on issues that move Arkansas forward. And that is why I am running for State Rep District 53. And thank you.
And thank you, Sean, for your opening. Let me reset the clock. And now, Mr. Milligan, you will have 2 minutes.
Yeah, thanks, Glanzy. It's good to be here this morning. Thank you all for doing this again. I am John Milligan, from Mayor of Lake City. Been the mayor for 10 years. I was on the city council for 4 years prior to that. Been married to my wife, Sarah, here in a few weeks. Be 30 years here, the 27th. Have 3 children. They're all in college. Have really enjoyed being the mayor of Lake City. Was asked to run for state representative, and like I said before, I prayed about it. Here we are. I'm excited to work for the people of Northeast Arkansas, for the District 53, willing to stand up for the unborn and for the Second Amendment and for the veterans, and give them the services that they have earned in their lifetime, and just look forward to working with all the businesses and the mayors and the citizens of, like I said, District 53. I've had a very good time, exciting time being the mayor. I've said before, it makes it easy when you have a good group of folks like I do here in Lake City in my council. I believe that District 53 is full of the same kind of people able to work with and try to move it forward in a positive way, like I've said before. And it's just be a servant of the people and try to do the right thing by them and help them, and no matter what walk of life they're in or what the quality of life. We talk about that, and they're so different, but be able to help them in whatever avenue that they're in, and try my best to be a very good representative.
All right, we thank you for that. All right, and so Kabila, it is now time for our first question.
Okay, so we'll just start with the one that's very important to everyone around the world, healthcare. What are some ways that you would advocate to ensure that Arkansans retain the health care they have or get improved health care, especially those with pre-existing conditions?
And who will start
with Mr. John?
Well, like I said last week, we was talking, I believe the coronavirus is going to change some of the health care and how that's done. But I'm like Brant Smith. I believe that the Arkansas Works, it's here to stay. And I know there's things that can be done. Apparently, talking to some of them, I'm sure it needs improvements. I haven't read it, need to read it, need to look at it. But I think that's where you you talk to the individuals, and you talk to the hospitals, and you talk to the nurses, and everybody that's in that line of work, and then you go to work for them. They're the professionals in that, and then, like I said, you have the people out here that the individuals that's going to be calling, and you got to try to do it for them. What avenue that is, it's going to, everybody's going to be different. It could be different situations, but willing to go to work for that, and do the best that we can for everybody on the healthcare, and just like I said, just move it forward, and try our best to take care of each Arkansan and make sure they have a good coverage, make sure they have what they need as far as pharmaceuticals or what in their health care. So it's a big item, but it's definitely number one. It's got to be covered and got to be taken care of.
All right, thank you. And Sean, you now have 2 minutes to reply.
Healthcare is key to, is the core of everything that we need. Our health is rather the core of who we are. And if we don't take care of our health, we cannot do other things like grow our communities and have economic development and growth. And so I am a huge supporter of making sure that every member of our community has health care. Now, how we get there is the key question, because I do believe, I appreciate that Arkansas Works made it possible gave almost 300,000 people access to health care. And so that is so important, because especially during a pandemic, where we have so many people suffering and our numbers are growing, it's important that we have healthcare, because those who do not have healthcare are not able to take care of their health, and so that impacts all of us. We have to think about this as a community. This is not a us versus them, who should get it, who shouldn't get it. It's in our best interest to make sure that we have access to health care for everyone. And the first part of that, frankly, is taking care of ourselves and so that we don't need health care at the level that we need it now, especially with a pandemic in our presence. So Arkansas Works is very important, and it's unfortunate that it took a pandemic for people to recognize and understand the importance of having health care. So that's where I am with that. We need to figure out how to work together so that we have a healthy community and everyone has access to health care.
All right, thank you. All right, Quabila, it's now time for our next question. You're muted.
Okay, I would ask an additional question to the previous. Since Sean mentioned about being healthy and requiring less health care, what are some ways that you all, if elected, would will propose to improve upon the current health and wellness programs that are currently in play in Arkansas, so that every Arkansan gets access to those health and wellness, either classes, information? I know that we have a local UAMS program that teaches healthy food options and things of that nature. So what are some ways that you all would propose to help to increase the health of Arkansans, so to reduce the need,
We're starting with
the reliance on healthcare? And we'll start with Sean.
Okay, I just wanted to get your question written down.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Hold on, let me reset the clock.
My proposal, okay. So,
Sean, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
I think, again, education is key, and it's a combination of education and us taking responsibility for our own health. It doesn't help when you have, especially where we live, we have an incredible amount of fast food available to us. And I'm not a big fan of fast food restaurants. And So I think that what I would propose is that we continue to educate our community on healthy eating, on exercising, and just those basic things that we learned as at least in my generation, that we learned about making sure that we have great health. And I'm in excellent health, and it's because I understand the importance of eating properly, eating the right foods in. And so we all have to take on that responsibility individually. And then as a legislator, I would definitely encourage making sure that that we provide the education necessary, and that we are working with our healthcare professionals to make sure that we have healthy communities. And so I think that those are the key things, is making sure that we are working with our healthcare professionals, that we are working with our community, and that we have parks available to everyone within their communities, creating those green spaces and just doing all those basic things that help to create a healthy community, so that we're not relying on healthcare, but doing what we need to do on our own as well.
All right, John.
Yeah, here in Lake City, we've put in another.
Sorry, let me restart. I thought that when I hit the reset, it would make the little beep thing stop. So, all right, here we go.
Thank you. Yeah, here in town, we put in another. At one of our parks, we put in another walking track. Like Sean was saying, since last January, I myself have lost right at 40 pounds, and it's self-discipline on our own to take upon ourselves to eat right and exercise. But as a legislator, you would need to work. And, if you can promote healthy living, I know the Municipal League, they have a program for the cities and to use for their employees, and they promote that and need to work with the doctors, the health department, and make sure that it's out there. But, most of that, like I say, lies with the people, like Sean said, to exercise and eat right and eat healthy. And my wife and my girls, they do CrossFit, and they eat too healthy for me. So I eat it sometimes, but try to stay in shape and take better care of yourself and your immune system. And when the cold or something comes up on you, of course, your body's going to defend it a lot better. So, but I'm sure there are ways that a legislator, if there is a bill to come up and our situation to come up, that I would be in favor or help support that for a healthier lifestyle. And you can't make people do it, but a suggestion I would be interested in all that avenues there for health.
All righty. So, Quabila, we'll go to the next question. You're muted.
Sorry. I want to switch to the topic of education. And we know that sometimes we have heard complaints about the current level of the education system in Arkansas. What are maybe some bills that you would sponsor, or what are some pieces of legislation you would try to make adjustments to in reference to Education Arkansas, so that the students are getting adequate lessons that keep them in the top tiers, so they're able to compete with other students on a global level? I hope that came out right.
Yeah.
It was started. John. Mr. John.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think that's where you have to go to meet with your superintendents, meet with your teachers, meet with the legislators and see what they have going now. But it is very important. Like I said a couple weeks ago, it starts with pre-K. Education starts when they're little, all the way up through college, or whether it may be VOTEC or whichever avenue a person would take, but a boy or girl would take. But we have to work with them, and where we're failing in Arkansas, we have to step up the game. And what avenue that is, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm willing to work on that for the the schools. And we do represent 4 different school districts in District 53, Nettleton and Brooklyn and Riverside and BIC. And I believe you need to work hand in hand with those superintendents, with the teachers, meet with the teachers, meet with the school board, and see where the state is lacking, and see if we can help them up and step up our game. Because like we said, education, no matter what you do, you got to have the education, whether it's the food, like we was talking about a while ago, the healthier, be educated, or in life in general. So, but I believe that's the avenue a person would need to take, a legislator, and then put some skin in the game and go to work for them, and see if we could make it better and step our game up.
All right, Sean.
Okay, so education is key for me. In accordance, the Arkansas Constitution states that we are duty bound to provide free and equal education in public schools for every child, and because it's essential. And I am a huge supporter of education. So I think that some of the things that we could do to improve our education, because again, like Kabila mentioned, we can't just be competitive locally and just within the state. We've got to be competitive nationally, and we've got to be competitive globally. And in order to do that, we've got to raise the bar. We've got to demand that our better from our students. We've got to challenge them to be and do better, as I do with my children. We've got to challenge our teachers to be their best and to be better. We've got to provide training for them. And the way that we help our teachers to be their best is to make sure that we are paying them accordingly, and that they have the benefits that they should have, and that they are being paid at least at the national average for teachers. We need to make sure that we are funding education, because you can't have education without putting some money behind it. And that is going to, education is, for me, education and health are the key to everything, are the core of everything. So as a legislator, I would look at the bills definitely that come across, and if it's a good bill that's going to improve our standing nationally, I would be in support of any bill.
All right, and next time on that question, Kabila, we have time for one more for this segment.
Okay, this question focuses on economic development within the state of Arkansas, specifically this district. What are some bills you would like to propose or look at to readjust that provides protection and incentives for small businesses so they can continue to grow and possibly provide more employment for the residents? We'll start with Mr. John.
Let's start with Sean this time. You started with John asking a few questions.
I apologize.
All right, Sean.
In terms of economic growth, you said some bills that would protect small businesses.
Or provide incentives.
Incentives. Well, I cannot speak specifically to incentives. I think that, we are small business owners. And so I think it's definitely important that we support small businesses. And, that's a hard question on how we provide protections for small businesses. But I absolutely believe that we need to do whatever we can to help small businesses. And I don't know if that means tax incentives or not, because we certainly give enough tax incentives to corporations who don't, and it doesn't trickle down to small businesses. So I think we do need to refocus on where we give incentives, and that should definitely be to small businesses, because I love small businesses. They make our communities. Most of them are the ones who are, providing us with our helping us to put food on our table and a roof over our head and just providing us with that quality of life. So it's really important that we support our small businesses. And how we do that, you know, I would look at whatever bills come before me. If someone else has some great ideas about how to accomplish that, I would definitely be interested in hearing them and would certainly welcome them.
All right, John?
Yeah, there again, I think that's where you have to, as a legislator, you have to make sure that you visit your representative and your businesses and let them know you have an open door. And because each business, their struggle may be different than the next guy right next door to him. So, but as far as what's there now and what to do, I'm like Sean, just be there and work for them. And, just had a couple open here in town the other day. And the biggest thing, is just supporting the local business, people in the city, in the town, especially in a small town, is everybody in town get out and support the business that's in your city. But very much interested in hearing from them and what ails them and finding ways and maybe finding factors that we can help them and support them and help them to help the city that they're in and help their tax base and help it grow.
And we thank you for your response. And that concludes our first segment of this debate. This is the Arkansas House of Representatives District 53 debate between Sean Only, the Democrat, and John Milligan, the Republican. We're getting ready to go into our first break on the radio. However, for those of you watching on our Facebook Live, the conversation continues. We will be back in a few minutes, so stay right with us. Don't go anywhere. This is your Arkansas House of Representatives, 53 debate on KLEK 102.5 FM. Q, still muted. No, well, I guess she went to a break. So kind of kick back, just relax a little bit. We are still streaming on Facebook. We've got some good questions coming in. If you want to monitor the Facebook Live, you can just kind of see what some of the people are asking. We'll try to get to as many of those questions.
Hey, John.
Again,
John, congratulations on losing 40 pounds in a year. That's pretty, kudos to you. That's pretty outstanding.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've tried, I was, last 10 years, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to lose, well, this time I decided in January, it was time to get rid of some pounds. So now keeping it off, the harder I think than losing it. Absolutely.
I did the same thing. I noticed that I, was enjoying, some snacks too much, and especially, keeping those late nights, you tend to snack more, and so had to get away from that and really make sure that I was keeping up with. So that's really fantastic that you lost 40 pounds.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Like I said, my wife and kids all do CrossFit, and they stay in shape, and I need to exercise more. So.
Yeah.
Maybe, and that'll come, I hope. But and I've been walking some, but I've been slacking on that here lately.
I love to walk because I'm not a big, you don't feel like you're exercising when you're walking miles and miles.
Right. Yep.
And I know Sean has done a lot of walking, canvassing, knocking on doors. So that's been a form of exercise right there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can't tell you that'll wear you out.
It certainly does, and especially on those days when it feels like a sauna out there. So that helps.
Yeah, it will wear you out.
All right, y'all. We got about 2 minutes left on our break.
Miss Sean, someone mentioned you realize you're not on video.
I'm sorry.
You're not on video.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. All that time I wasn't.
Yeah, well, I thought you just stepped away and had something to attend to.
No, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that. Thank you, whoever alerted us to that.
I love that background though. That would be my dream bookcase.
Mine too. I love virtual backgrounds. I
actually thought that was your real bookcase because I see it in all your videos.
I'd love for it to be my real bookcase. I love virtual backgrounds. I can be at the beach sometimes.
Would your bookcase be as organized and color coded as that one?
Well, yeah.
Maybe not. And of course, for those of you watching on our live feed, as you see, this proves that people can be from opposing political parties and can still laugh and fellowship and have a good time. And that's definitely missing, at least on a national level, in our discourse.
I agree.
All right, we've got about 45 seconds before we resume.
Okay. So the next questions will come straight from the Facebook Live feed. So if you all want to kind of go and just look through, we'll just pick some at random. So just so you can be familiar.
Unfortunately, I'm not as savvy with being able to manipulate all of that at once. So
Your phone.
Well, it helps to have multiple devices. I've got a laptop, an iPad, and 2 iPhones going. And of course, you've been seeing me hold up the iPhone with a timer. I was actually trying to do screen share, but the iPad, for some reason, won't let me do the screen share of the clock. So I have to hold up the phone to do the thing. But stand by, we're going back live on the air now. And we're back on Community Conversations. This is our Arkansas House of Representatives District 53 debate between the candidates, Democrat Sean Onley and Republican John Milligan. This is now our second segment of the debate, in which now you, the people watching on our Facebook Live, get to ask the questions of the candidates. And we got some questions already, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So we will start with, I'm trying to find it because this question actually kind of combines some questions. Let's see it. But I remember the question was, what are your views on all of the 3 ballot issues that are going to be on the ballot? So for those that are watching, issue 1 is making the road tax permanent. Issue 2 is the term limit amendment. And issue 3 is the changes in how amendments are proposed to the Arkansas Constitution. So we'll start with Sean. You now have 2 minutes.
okay. So regarding the 3 ballot issues, on the first issue of the road tax, I am for that because we have crumbling roads, unfortunately, and we need to make sure that we have a sound infrastructure, that we have great roads and highways and bridges. You know, we need to make sure that that we are taking care of our infrastructure, because that also helps create economic growth and development. Companies want to come in and they want to have roads where their trucks and they can, you know, commute without destroying their trucks. And so on issue 2 regarding term limits, I absolutely am for that as well. I think that we need to get rid of the old guard. We have too many politicians who are not doing anything on our behalf, and you know, they're taking care of themselves and their cronies, and we have enough of that. So we do need term limits. And on issue 3, on the initiative on petitions, I am absolutely against creating any more roadblocks and barriers on the petition process. That is taking away my rights and creating too many hoops that I have to jump through. And so I appreciate that process as it stands. The process is already difficult and expensive. So to increase that further just takes away my rights as a citizen and as a taxpayer, as a, you know, someone in the community. So those are my positions on those 3 ballot issues, and it's important that we all know about them and do our research.
All right, thank you for that. We will now go to John. You have now 2 minutes.
Yeah. Issue 1, the half-cent sales tax. I too am for that tax. As a small town mayor, I've seen since 2013. I've seen the what we've been able to do with that extra money, you know, what we're going to do for our citizens. And I encourage people, you know, to study it. Don't take my opinion on it, but study it and go talk to your local mayor, go talk to the county judge and see what it's been able to do, for your city or your county, and also for the like I say, infrastructure across the state and the transportation system that we have. And issue 2, I'm for that also. Just for the same, kind of like Sean said, you have politicians that stay in there, and I believe in term limits, and I believe that we should, I believe that should be passed also. And then issue 3, from what I understand with issue 3, we have a lot of outside influence trying to spend lots and lots of money trying to amend the Constitution and cause trouble. And and you get 15 counties. You have 15 counties now. You have to have signatures for, and that the issue 3 requires 45 counties, which is getting more of the voice of the people of Arkansas, because I believe if something's done in Northwest Arkansas, it affects the whole state, or Northeast Arkansas, it affects the whole state. So, that requires more of a voice, and I believe that that's a good thing when you have more people signing and knowing what's going on, and less from the outside of our state lines. So,
thank you for that. All right, and our next question, and this is for you, John, and of course we'll give Sean an opportunity to respond as well. Rebecca Laura Evans says, Mr. Milligan, given that pre-K is so important, would you vote to fund universal pre-K in Arkansas as Oklahoma has done? You now have 2 minutes.
Would I look to fund it? Is that the question? I'm sorry.
Yes, the question is, I'll read it again. It says, Mr. Milligan, given that pre-K is so important, would you vote to fund universal pre-K in Arkansas? And you now have 2 minutes.
That's done in Oklahoma? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said before. We need to go talk to the superintendents and go talk to the co-ops who run that. And if that's an option, if that's something can be done, I would be in favor of looking at that. I want to look at all avenues, like I said earlier, and don't know if it's doable, but if it is, yeah, I'm open to the idea, and look at it and talk to the education department and see what can be done, and see if we can might have that process completed.
All right. Sean, you now have 2 minutes to reply.
I am absolutely a supporter of pre-K. There have been a number of studies done that show that that students are better as a result of having access to pre-K. And so why wouldn't we make sure that we have that available to all of our students? And it certainly helps families too. Now, I don't know how we go, in terms of funding it. That's always the key question for everything that we want to do, but we need to figure out how to make sure that is available to all of our children, because we as a community are better for having children educated. I mean, children should be educated coming out of the womb, that it starts from that very first, hello. And so I am a huge supporter of pre-K. And, if that means that maybe we consider giving, looking at grants as a way to fund it, that's something that, I would certainly look into how we can make sure that we provide pre-K to all of our children, because it's in our best interest.
Right. And we thank you for that. David McAvoy says, to both candidates, will you support joining all 49 other states in guaranteeing renters an implied warrant of habitability, and also making evictions a civil rather than criminal matter as the rest of the entire U.S.? Did both of you understand the question?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll start with Sean, 2 minutes.
Okay, so minimum housing standards is part of my platform. I absolutely, believe that we have to have, minimum housing standards for everyone. It's so important that that landlords provide a decent, livable place for people. And as Representative Gazaway, you know, he introduced that bill, House Bill 1410, and I hope that he will introduce it again, because as a legislator, I would definitely support that bill. And that bill doesn't just assist renters, but it also, yes, in addition to making sure that we have minimum housing standards on the renter side, it also protects landlords. And so it makes sense. And so yes, like the other 49 states, and you know, criminalizing it, there's a question there that you know, making it civil versus criminal. I think it is a civil matter, but it also depends on exactly what we're referencing in terms of the criminal side of it. I don't know enough about the criminal side on how they're trying to criminalize it, but it's definitely, I do support having minimum housing standards.
All right, John, 2 minutes.
Yeah, you know, Mr. Gazaway, Representative Gazaway's bill, I know, like Sean said, was brought up, and I have a feeling it will come back. And I have not read the bill, but that's something that needs to be read, and that I need to look. I would look at and listen to both sides, and like I said, you know, the listen to that avenue, take the avenue for that's what's right for the people. And if like Sean said, you know, there's the criminal side and the civil side of things, and that's just something that will have to be looked at. But yeah, if it's because you want to treat people, everybody needs to be treated fair on both sides, and be treated as a human being and with respect. But yeah, that is something definitely that well, I'm sure will be brought back up, and I'm interested in and looking at it and doing the right thing by both sides, and taking care of the people.
All right, I'll let Kubila ask the next question, because she may have some pop up on her feed that I don't see.
Okay, this next question comes from Vicki Lewis. She says, what about nonprofit businesses that needs more support from your city, such as Diego Ranch, which had to temporarily close due to losing the place that was sold from under them? And now over 300 kids are without equine therapy. She says, so you know, Diego Ranch has a new 2020 business plan for the new arena. They need help for all disabilities. For those who may not know, Diego Ranch provides equine therapy for children with a variety of disabilities, and unfortunately, they lost their property. So I'm guessing your question is, what support would you provide for nonprofit businesses that are trying to provide essential services to individuals? Mackenzie, I lost the back and forth. I'm sorry.
You was asking about the background of Diego Ranch.
Mr. John.
Oh yes, we can start with John this time, because we started with Sean on the last one.
Yeah. That's a very good ranch. What they do with the disabled, that's a great situation. As far as helping them financially, you know, that's you just have to look at that and see what's legal to do. But I am very interested in that situation, and helping them to keep on doing their process. But I do not know what's legal. I don't know the avenues or the funding the state would have, but would hit the ground running with that, and try my best to help them find the avenue to get them funding so they could keep on with their ranch and helping the children that they help. 100% in on trying to figure out something to move them forward. So.
All right, Sean.
You know, that breaks my heart to hear that a nonprofit business that is actually really doing great things for its community would have that it would be closed and have it stolen from them. I think that that's absolutely disgraceful. You know, nonprofit business, I'm a fan of nonprofits, but it depends on the nonprofit, because, you know, the truth of the matter is we have some nonprofits nonprofits that are not really legitimate. They're just another tax shelter for some, and they are legitimate for businesses like this. And I just think it's a disgraceful, anyone that would take advantage and not figure out that we haven't figured out how to help them stay open. And so I don't know the legalities, but it is definitely something that we need to look into, because if they're creating a wonderful service for children and doing really God's work, I mean, why would you do something like that? That's just absolutely unconscionable. And so, but I don't know the details. Just based on what you've said, it sounds like a terrible thing, and we need to rectify, we need to figure out how to right that wrong. And if there's a legal way to do that, then by all means, we should try to figure out how to do that, how to assist nonprofits like that are actually doing great work for their community, and especially for our children.
All right, our next question comes from Austin Zamora. She says, or he says, I'm sorry, I know this is an election on the state level, but this question is important to both candidates. Are you proud to support the candidate that your national party has nominated for president? And we'll start with Sean with 2 minutes.
Well, that is a loaded question, Austin. But I am absolutely proud to support Biden for president. He is a man of faith, real faith. He doesn't pretend to be a Christian. He is a man who is committed to public service for 47 years, and that should not be discounted or it shouldn't be a negative because he's committed to that, because over these years he could have made a generous amount of money, but he chose to give back to his community. So I am in absolute support of him. We need to get rid of the divide and conquer mentality that we have with the current administration that is destroying our country. And so I hope that he will address, bringing some ethics back to the White House. Biden he's also an educated man, and as is Trump, but there's levels of education. You can have a degree and not be educated, and some of us pay for our degrees and some of us actually earn our degrees. And so I think that Biden is a great representation. He will bring this country back together, bring us all back together, because that's what we need to do. We need to come together. We are not an us versus them. We are all in this together. And for those who think that as it stands, that we are going in the right direction, we are on a terrible.
Sean, we're going to have to leave it there. Time is up. I apologize. All right, we're going to set the clock. John, 2 minutes.
Yeah. Yes, Austin. Hadn't talked to you in a while. Hope you're doing good. But yeah, I do support President Trump leading the Republican Party and leading the country. Don't be honest with you, don't always agree with some of the Twitter feed and some of the things that he says. But as far as being a businessman and leading the country and things that he's done and taking care of the country, I know he's 100% against. He's 100% pro-life and 100% for the Second Amendment and for the Christians. So I'm happy with that, and we'll just move forward and see what happens November 3rd and go from there.
Well, thank you for that. Yes, I know that was a loaded question, but that's the fun of this segment. You just never know what the people in our live feed will ask. So this one won't be as loaded. This will be our last question of the segment because we're running a little low on time. Linda Elwood Denny says, what about term limits for municipal offices? We'll start with John.
Well, we have talked about that before, being the mayor, I've been the mayor. This is my third term, and I think I know Mike Gaskell just retired after 20 years, and Mayor Perry, of course, of health reason after 12. But in a small town like I'm in, as far as when somebody moves out of a ward or moves, sometimes getting somebody to be appointed in a small town, even appointed to the council seat, is really hard. So I don't know if that would work well in a small town. It might work in a city, if you've done it 50,000 or above, or 100 or above or something, the population 100,000. But for a small town, it's really hard. And I also believe that, like I am as a mayor here, I believe after 3 or 4 terms, it's time to step out and let a new brain take over and let fresh ideas. And I believe, it's kind of like going to church. I think it's really good every now and then just go to another church to make sure you're not in a rut at the church you've been going to for a long time. See things different and have a different aspect and different perspective on things. So I don't know that it'd work in a small town. The city of Jonesboro, it might. Probably would in a bigger town, but a small town like Lake City, I don't think that would work very good.
Sean?
So term limits and municipal offices, I've got mixed feelings about that, because especially if you are in a position where your term is only 2 years, it's hard to really make any kind of, obviously you have a certain amount of terms that you can serve, but I really, that's a hard one, because that's a hard one, because sometimes you just don't have enough time to really make the impact that you need to make, because because of the way that sessions happen, or but in a municipal kind of an office, I think that if you see changes in your town, positive improvements in your town, then it's hard to want to let go of that leader. But if you have a town where nothing changes, you don't even have a grocery store or a gas station, you have to wonder, okay, well, what is that leader doing? How effective are they? So, I hate to say that it's on obviously you can't have it on a case-by-case basis. It has to be, the rule for all. So that's a difficult one, because sometimes you have some really great leaders who you want to see in office and continue their work, and then you have some bad leaders who you just need to get rid of. So that's a difficult one for me in terms of on the municipal level. So that's where I don't know if I answered your question, but that's a tough one, because it depends on how good or bad they are.
All right, and we thank you for that. And that concludes this part of our debate. Thank you to everyone who posted questions on our Facebook Live. We're going to get ready to go into our next break. But when we come back from break, the candidates will ask questions of each other. We're going to take a break on the radio. But for those watching on our Facebook Live feed, the video will continue. So we're just going to kind of sit back, chill, relax for a little bit, and back in a few. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
And now get your questions ready for each other.
Yeah, I'm looking for mine.
Okay. Mr. Jones, you prepare any questions, or you just
No. You know how men are. They just
week?
yeah.
Oh goodness.
Flying by the seat of their pants, right?
Yeah.
I do want to ask, when you're running for this position, are you allowed any handbooks, documents, anything to review to prepare you for the position if you were elected?
John, you want to answer that?
I've never run for office and have no desire, but
well, I've been to a few meetings in Little Rock, and from what I get, they hadn't handed me. Of course, I'm sure the Democratic Party too, and Republican Party, they hand you, they give you some books, how to run a campaign and all that stuff. But as far as, if whoever wins, I think it's just going, maybe they have meetings in Little Rock, training that you can go to and, kind of prepare. And they hadn't handed me a book and said, here's what we're going to do. I think what I was told is they're going to cram weeks because of COVID. They'll cram a week's worth of training into 2 days right after the election. So I don't know, and I only know what that's going to look like. So, but anyway, going to be fun time, sounds like, trying to take it all in. So
I would say, and this is only from my perspective, going through what we are going through as a globe, I'm going to say, with COVID, it has put us in a position to be more creative and intuitive. I want to say intuitive, that's not the right word, but be more creative, for lack of a better word, on how we operate our day-to-day lives and how we navigate our new normal. And I really don't like to use the word normal because normal looks different for everybody.
right, that's right.
How we navigate our spaces. What I would like to see going forward, because education is important to me. I have a son who struggled in school, and so the traditional setting wasn't beneficial for him. And I wish I had a homeschooled simply because of his challenges, but it's neither there. I would just like to see some restructuring of, if possible, within the financial realms of the school system, so that all students are getting the best out of the education that's presented to them. But,
I agree with you there.
You have 30 seconds.
That is challenging for parents who have a child who requires, additional help within the schools. And we've got to figure that out, because they have a right to education just like anyone else. We just have to figure out how we do that so that so that no one is not
Stand by for rejoin.
sorry.
I'm fine. Here we go. And we're back on Community Conversations on KLK 102.5 FM. This is our Arkansas House of Representatives District 53 debate between the candidates, Sean Only representing the Democratic Party and John Milligan representing the Republican Party. This is now our segment in which the candidates get to ask questions of each other. This is always a fun and lively part of our debate series. And we're going to start with Sean, because if you were watching on our live feed while we were at break, John says he flies by the seat of his pants and doesn't have questions yet. So since Sean has some prepared, we will just start with Sean. Go ahead and ask your question, and then Mr. Milligan will have 2 minutes to reply, and then you'll have 2 minutes for a rebuttal.
Well, in John's defense, I was the one who accused him of flying by the seat of his pants. That's okay. I would ask John, which you often mention being a proponent of the Second Amendment, and the Second Amendment. I think I heard somewhere it's like 34 words, and I've actually read it for myself, and it is just like one sentence. So I would ask you, because I also believe that we have a right to defend ourselves and to protect ourselves, our family, in our home. But I would ask you, there are 2 parts to that amendment. And so which part of the Second Amendment do you support? The right to militias or the right to bear arms, or both, and why?
Well, I support I'm sorry. I support the Second Amendment wholeheartedly. And it's the right to bear arms, and no one shall infringe on that. I get asked about red flag laws, and I told them, I said, unless you could come up with a red flag law that does not infringe on anyone's right to bear arms, I wouldn't want to look at it, but I don't think that they can. And people want to blame guns, and Cain killed Abel with a rock, and God didn't blame the rock; he blamed Cain. But I stand on the Second Amendment, and like I said, I just believe it's our right to bear arms, and it should not be infringed on. And like you said, it's just that one sentence, but I believe that that's our right. So,
all right, Sean, you now have 2 minutes to reply. To rebut him.
Okay. Well, he didn't. He talked about the right to bear arms, but he didn't mention his stance on militias. But nonetheless, you also mentioned Cain, and and so you took it back to the Bible. And as I understand it, talking with my pastor too, because I consulted my pastor because I often hear, the Second Amendment is a God-given right. Well, I don't know that it's a God-given right, because also the Bible says, you live by the sword, you die by you die by the sword. So, so while I believe that we have a right to defend ourselves, and I do believe that we need red flag laws, because red flag laws, why would you allow someone who is suffering from an emotional event or who is not stable to have access to guns? In my neighborhood recently, last week, and I live in a nice, quiet neighborhood. We had a young man who drove through our neighborhood like a mad person, and drove across my neighbor's lawns, almost, wrecked our homes, and shot at the sheriff. This is someone who should not have had, a young person who has been in trouble before, who should not have had access to guns. He also stole a gun that was unsecured. Those are the kinds of things, we have to have. No one is saying take away anyone's right to defend themselves. I certainly believe that we all have that right, and we have a right to, and if that requires that we have a gun at our disposal, then so be it. I respect that right too, because we are an armed family too. But I think that you need to be very.
We got to leave it there. I apologize. We have to leave it there. All right, John, have you come up with a question?
Yeah, how will Sean, if you win in November 30th and you get next year, how will you stay in touch with the local mayors and councilmen and maybe the fire departments and volunteer fire departments and people of that nature?
Oh, well, just like I have visited as a candidate, I have visited with various leaders in our community. I will certainly make sure that I am having regular contact with them, because they are a part of my community, and it's important that we have that we work together. And so I will reach out to them, just like as a citizen of this community. When I arrived here, I went straight to our police department and introduced myself as a citizen, just to say hello. We are new to this community. I want to know who is in charge in our community, and I want to establish a rapport, a relationship with you. So as a legislator, I will make sure that I have a relationship with everyone who is in, not just in leadership, but with our community. So I think that is very important, to have relationships with everyone in our community. So if that means that I'm meeting with them in their office, or, calling them by phone or emailing them, I do that already. I already reach out to, our legislators when I have a issue or a concern, or, I want to. So as a legislator, I look forward to working with you, John, as mayor of Lake City, and so, I'll reach out to you, and, if there's something that you need in Lake City, and I'll reach out to the other mayors. So, that's what I'll do. I'll continue to have relationships with everyone, and especially with leadership in our community.
All right, John, 2 minutes rebuttal.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I have asked when the debate back in March that we had. That was a question that I've got asked several times to me, and it's, very important that, like I said, that we serve and we don't get to Little Rock. And I've told my friends, I said, if I do win, I get to Little Rock, if you see me losing in my way, grab me up by the neck and straighten me out, because, we represent here. We don't represent Little Rock. We represent the people of Northeast Arkansas. And I let them know that, whether by phone or text or email, it may be 10:30 that night, but we'll get back with you. and stay in touch and come to your meetings and listen to your concerns and be a representative that we should be, and try our best to represent each and every one that's in this district in the state of Arkansas. So.
Alrighty. All right, Sean, we will now go to you for another question for John.
Oh, I'm sorry. I totally misunderstood what you were asking me.
But we've got some time left, so we can probably get in maybe a couple more questions across the board.
I've got another question. So my question is, how do you, you said that you are pro-life, and I often wonder, I want to know how you define pro-life, because I'm pro-life too. And what Bible passage do you use to support that position? Obviously, besides Exodus and Romans, how do you define pro-life? Because pro-life to me means not just inside the womb.
All right, 2 minutes.
Well, yeah, life starts at conception, and like you talk about, talks in Exodus, thou shalt not kill, but it does. I believe life starts at conception, and then after, we've talked about this, about after they're born, you can't just forget about them. We've talked about this already today in the last debate, about pre-K, about up here at our school we have a backpack program for the kids that need food, and no, we can't forget about them once they're born, once we get them here, and it's the parents' responsibility, but it's also, our responsibility to take care of our brother and make sure that they have things that they need. So it's life all the way through, not just getting them here. We have a responsibility. I've got 3 kids, and they're all in college, and my dad always told me, he said, I'll just hang around, it'll get worse. He said, he would laugh, but love my kids to death, and as each parent I'm sure does. So but no, it's not just from the time they're born, but it's or getting them here. It's helping them walk through life and doing the best we can for our future. Because without the children and without the future, or without them, there's not a future in this country or a church or whatever you may go to. If without kids, we don't have one. So, excuse me.
All right, Sean, 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Well, I appreciate that you think that life, although you didn't define it for me exactly, what pro-life means, because I think that we need to go beyond providing them with pre-K. My concern is especially for victims of rape and victims of incest. That is very concerning for me. And, we constantly get into this discussion, and I frankly think that it is a distraction from the issues that we all face on a daily basis, like how to put food on our table and a roof over our head. And, that whole, I really believe that is, unfortunately, while it's important, life is important. As a legislator, I think it's wonderful that we can agree to disagree, and that I won't get inside your body, and I don't expect you to get inside mine or any other woman's. We really need to stop distracting from what is really important, and that is a private issue. Abortion is what we're really getting at here, and it's a HIPAA issue. And so, what you do in your doctor's office is your business, just like what women do in the doctor's office is their business. And we need to stop distracting from what is really important and concentrate on making sure that the state is moving forward, because, abortion is at its lowest since the 70s.
And we've got to leave it there. We thank you for that. All right, John, it is now your turn.
I don't have another question. So,
all right. Well, Q, do you have a question? We don't have any more from our live feed.
Actually, I do. We've, talked about a variety of issues. One thing that is concerning to me is teen pregnancy and teen homelessness. I know we have an adult homelessness population, but I used to work in an industry where I worked directly with young people under the age of 18. And so what are some proposals that you all would like to see come forth, or some bills that will provide services for teen pregnancy prevention? And I will say this, abstinence-only programs are not sufficient, because I have worked in the industry for many years, so I'm aware of that. But anywho, teen pregnancy prevention, and also possibly housing facilities or other programs that provide more teen services for those that are homeless or misplaced.
We start with
Ms. Shawn.
That's an interesting question, and I'm sorry, it is not one that I have was thinking about today. However, it is an important issue, teen pregnancy and homelessness. Obviously, there's in a country like this, where we have so much available to us, there is no excuse for anyone being homeless. And at the place where we are educationally, it is unfortunate that we still have teens getting pregnant. But what's important is that it takes two to tango. And so I'm as a woman, I'm bothered that it is always it's always the young woman's responsibility to figure it out. And so we need to make sure that we are addressing it on both sides. What are we doing on the male side and on the female side? Because you can't just expect a young woman to have to not just figure out her own situation, but figure out how to take care of two people. So we've got to definitely address this. And we have too many vacant properties where we have vacant hotels too. We've got to figure out, how do we repurpose those properties and make them so that we don't have homeless people? There's got to be a way, because it's in our best interest to figure out how to help our community overall, its impact, because it's not just impacting that young woman, it impacts everyone, because of her circumstances impacts everyone. So let's figure it out.
all right, John.
yeah, I believe that also, starts with it when it's the children. It starts with education and family. Got to figure out a way to strengthen our families. Because attitude reflects leadership. I'm not saying it's every parent's fault, but I'm just saying that it starts at home, and then and we can educate them through school, and get the education out there about life and helping them try to make the right decisions, but the situations that are there, I don't. There you're talking about finances again, and I don't know the avenues for the money or the how we can handle that. And I'm sure there's a way. I'm sure that's been looked at before. I don't know if there's ever been a bill of any kind. I'm sure there has been to help the young teens and which, like I said earlier, that's the future of our country there. So need to be able to try to help them in a positive way. And like Sean said, there's two people, not just the one. Everybody's, you dance the dance, you pay the fiddler. Everybody's got to step up and take responsibility. And we need to do our part. But as far as how to do that and the avenue to take, I'm not 100% sure, but we do need to try to figure out and do something for that situation and for the homeless also. There again, just come up with money to take care of it and get a group of folks to move it in the right direction. So then maybe we can help both situations. So.
All right. And that concludes this segment of our debate. We want to once again thank the candidates for their responses and thank everyone that is tuning in. Going to take a quick break for station identification. And when we come back from that break, we will conclude our debate with the candidates saying something positive about each other. And also for I'm trying to move this up on my screen. I've lost my place in my automation system. So I'm going to go ahead and hit skip next. But when we come back, we'll be back with more. Okay, I'll try to move this up.
I apologize for just throwing that out there, but it's been on my mind. We talk about quality of life. This can go for local and state.
This break is going to be really short, y'all, by the way.
Okay. And
you're fine. You can say what you got, so I'm just letting you know.
But I'm just saying, quality of life, we have to incorporate those that are not in the working class because we want them to be in the working class at some point, but we have to start taking care of them as young as possible.
Right.
I understand families have a responsibility, but we need to kind of get back to that village mentality of the community being the village for the people, for their people. That's my take on it.
That's good.
I believe that it takes a village to raise a child, but we also have personal responsibility. And so I very much believe that we have to take responsibility for our own actions too. So yes, while it takes a community, it all starts at home. It starts within. And so we've all got to do our part so that we can have a community that has quality of life for everyone.
Stand by for rejoin. And we're back on KLEK 102.5 FM, our Arkansas House of Representatives District 53 debate between Democrat Sean Onley and Republican John Milligan. We are nearing the end of our debate, and we've had a lovely time so far. I want to once again thank both candidates for their participation. So for this segment, now each candidate will say something positive about his or her opponent. We'll start with Sean. You now have 2 minutes.
You started with me before on this.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, we'll go with John then. All right, so we'll go with John.
No, that's okay. I would say about John, I think that he is a very nice man. And, he often references his faith. And as a Christian woman too, I appreciate that he is guided by his faith. And, and I love that the First Amendment, allows us all to have freedom of religion. And so it's wonderful that the two of us are people of faith. And so I appreciate that about him, that he is guided by his faith, as am I.
All right, John.
Yeah, I met Sean. I don't know if she remembers the first time at Jonesboro High School out there to had a debate. Me and Cole Peck and Bobby Long did, but she was there. But anyway, she was nice. Then didn't know me from Adam, but she was nice and spoke and had a nice smile, and she's always been friendly and complimentary. And I too want to thank her for her Christianity and her walk that she has with Christ, and I also want to thank her for her services. She said she's been in her party for 20 years, and commend her for throwing her hat in the ring for this representative race, and because it's being a servant like that's never easy. It's always something going on. So, but anyway, she's always nice and always smiling and always been courteous. So I appreciate it.
All right, and we thank you all for your comments. It is now time for closing statements. Since Sean started with our opening statement, we will begin with John with his closing statement, 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, again, I just, like I say, I've lived here, all my life. I'm 51 years old and have really enjoyed serving as mayor, serving here in the city. Look forward to serving District 53, working with everybody in it, working, and just like today, with the Coahuila's, some of her questions, is you're going to have stuff that you've not thought of that's, that's going to be, that you're going to be hit with, and happens as a mayor from day to day, learn something new every day. So had the 10 years of experience of serving the people and having things like that thrown at me and dealing with them and having a good group of people to work with, a good core group, and look forward, if I do win, going Little Rock and working across the aisles, working with both sides. It's not we're all Americans. We're not Republicans and Democrats. We shouldn't look at it that way. We're all made by God and in His image, and we need to respect each other and act like it no matter what position we're in. But just look forward to working and serving District 53, working with other representatives, like I said, no matter what if it's R or D beside their name, and trying to make life better and just move it forward and in a positive way, and just thank the good Lord for every day He's given me. And I just appreciate everyone's vote November 3rd, if I could get it. Thank you very much. I appreciate y'all too. And since I've been in this, y'all are hard at it. Y'all work hard at this and put in a lot of time, and I appreciate y'all and what y'all do.
And we thank you for that. All right, Sean.
Okay, well, thank you, KLEK, Leganzi, and Kabila for hosting this, and thank you, John. We've had some good conversations, and I think that is important. I believe in reaching across the aisle, and so it's important that we all work together, because we are not an us versus them. We are we the people, and so we the people need to work together for our community. As your state rep, my interest is purely quality of life for all citizens of our state, and especially in District 53, and making sure that Arkansas is competitive nationally. My job is to, on your behalf as your representative, is to make sure that that the legislation that we are initiating and amending and looking at, that is representative of every member of our community. And so I will fight for every member of our district. It doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican. We are all Americans, and we all want the same thing. From my conversations with people in the community, we all really want the same things. Now, how we go about achieving that is the big question. But I think that I absolutely believe that we can do it, as long as we understand that it is not about me, it is not about you, it is about us. And so I hope that I ask for your support and your vote on November 3rd, because I am qualified and capable, and I'm a mama bear. So as a mother, I will go in and fight and do everything on behalf of our community.
And thank you, Sean. And thank you, John, as well, for participating in this debate. This concludes our debate. Thank you to everyone that tuned in, both on our live feed and listening on 102.5 FM. And again, Keely Ken, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. We do not endorse, support, or oppose any candidate for office. This was provided for informational purposes only. But once again, we strongly encourage you to exercise your right to vote, because one of these two people are going to represent you. So make sure that you have a say in which one that you feel is the best one to represent you. Election day is November 3rd. Early voting starts October 19th. If you want to avoid the potential long lines, you may want to request an absentee ballot. Go ahead and get it returned as soon as possible, preferably dropping it back off at the clerk's office, because you just never know how the mail is going to be. But no matter how you vote, we do encourage you to vote. Programming note: tomorrow at 12 noon, we will live stream the Kiwanis debate for Arkansas District 58. And then Thursday, our debate series on KLEK also resumes with the candidates for Arkansas District 58. So you got to stay tuned in as we bring this coverage to you. So you guys have a great and blessed day. This is KLEK on 2.5 FM. All right, radio is stopped now. Let me stop the live stream and the recording. All right. Recording. We're gonna stop it on.
Look, Gonzi, if you can hear me, I'm gonna leave now. I really appreciate you.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I guess I could just end this meeting. That would stop everything because I'm not seeing it. Well, thank you guys, and
Thank you.
best of luck, and y'all take care.
Thank you, Sean. Have a good day.
You do the same, John.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.